Party. China exported more to the rest of the world than it lost in selling to the United States, so that at the end of 2025, China was able to announce over $1 trillion in net exports. I mean, it's an extraordinary performance, but it is a screaming demonstration that whatever little leverage Mr. Trump thought he had by hitting China with a tariff didn't work, really was a failure. And the same is true whether he interferes with oil going from Venezuela to China, which it looks like he's going to do, or the other jumping on the tankers. This, it's way too little and it's way too late. And so he's in a problem that whatever he does isn't addressing the actual issue, nor is there any discussion that can make that clear. And I wish I could tell you that there was an opposition that understood this, but there isn't. There is only outside of the mainstream of American politics, there is a growing, but it's still very small and it's still quite marginal to the thrust of the political scene here. And so we will be distracted. And much as I share the horror of the whole world about this Epstein scandal as it ramifies, it has the unfortunate side effect of once again, distracting the population from the bigger, more structural issues that are shaking this society. Even though it may end Keir Starmer's position in England, and we don't know yet how far it's going to go here in the United States, but it is already threatening the careers of 2 or 3 cabinet members, and we'll see how much further it goes. I think that this is not just, I think this is very, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. There are 2 ways of doing history. There's the serious effort, go back, look at the record, collect the information, and try to understand how the different pieces fit together. And then there's what we would call in the university the condensed Reader's Digest version of all of this, which reads like a morality play in which adversity arises until the good people get together and vanquish the bad people. This is a veneer over what he is doing. Let me explain it in a different way. To be blunt, what Mr. Trump's international game is to at least slow, since you can't admit it, but to at least slow the decline of the United States by using whatever power it still has by virtue of having been the hegemon for a century and being large and being obviously an important market for exporters around the world, a certain important source of capital and all the rest, to use it to convert as much as possible of the rest of the world into a tributary state. Really, the model you ought to use is ancient Rome, when all of the parts of Europe had to deliver a certain number of bushels of corn or wheat or chickens or animals. It's all tribute. Von der Leyen has to come and give tribute. We're going to buy your natural gas. We're going to invest in your country, our money. It's an extraordinary tribute economy, and it is done by brute threat. If you don't do this, we are going to hurt you. Even though the tariff is paid either by the American company importing or the foreign company's subsidiary, which will damage its profitability here, or the prices will be raised to the consumer. But any way you cut it, this is costly for the American economy, which is why traditionally Republican parties didn't do taxes. This one does it, but he has to do it both for home consumption and for foreign consumption by telling an Andrew Jackson story. In other words, if you read what Mr. Trump actually says, the whole world is cheating us. He is rising up. All right, if you're a little country, if you're a corner of the big British Empire, if you're dealing with colossal economies like France or Britain back in the early 19th century, okay, you can tell such a story. It has a plausibility, but you can't do that now. Now you are the colossus. You can't. I mean, the story that the United States has been cheated by everybody, every country, large and small, and that instead of the United States being so inordinately rich that it can buy everything from the rest of the world while getting the rest of the world to put its savings here so we can buy everything from them, and to turn that into out, we were cheated. I mean, only in a country with the media as docile and as craven as ours is could even imagine pulling that stunt off. But here it works. It works because it gives a plausibility to what is otherwise very ugly. When I, for example, when I give talks and I explain what I said before, this is a tribute. We are becoming a society that says you must give us tribute or else we will hurt you. And I do it with humor. I point to, in this country, the story of criminals have an incredible fascination. We endless movies about criminals and endless book. It's just the people are fascinated with crooks. And one of the most standard images in countless films and books is the following. Imagine a small store, a dry cleaning store, a laundry store, a little restaurant. And in the front door come two gentlemen dressed in trench coats with bulges under their jackets, suggesting they have guns. And they come up to who's ever in charge and they say, "We're here and we want you to understand we need our payment for your protection." To which the proprietor then says, "What do I need protection for? Who's threatening me?" And the two gentlemen smile and they answer, "We are. And if you don't pay us, we'll burn the place down." And then in a sequence 2 minutes later in the movie, they burn the place down because he has, or beat him up or whatever it is they're going to do. The joke is, we're protecting you from us. Well, the United States is doing that. It's recognizable here. And when I use the metaphor, they get it, and my audience laughs with me. They see it. But within 30 seconds, it's out of their mind because they much prefer the story of. And when I ask them, tell me, how is it cheating? It's ridiculous. The fact that you have a deficit with one country and a surplus with another tells you how this system works. It has nothing to do with blaming one of the. What are you doing? They don't have any answer to me. They don't know international trade theory enough to explain any of it anyway. So they get the image, but they don't want that image yet. My prediction, within 6 months, they will, but not yet. So at this point, they like Mr. Trump, and they might go for the Andrew Jackson if it could be spun as We were abusively treated by the British and the French and whoever else, and we were standing up the way we did in the War of Independence in 1776, and again in the War of 1812. We defeated the British Empire, and we are coming into our own. That is the acceptable story, and that story is you can tell. But when it comes to any specific, in his early first term, he referred to himself as an admirer of William McKinley, also an earlier American president toward the end of the 19th century, who also was an advocate of tariffs at that time. So he until someone pointed out that McKinley was an advocate of tariffs when he was in the Congress, but when he became the president, he changed his position and wasn't anymore. He hadn't done enough work. Mr. Trump is not a scholar, never was. He doesn't, and nobody around him is either. So what you're getting is the most superficial grabbing at some historical character to clothe yourself, to make it all appear that it's somehow more deeply grounded. It isn't. That's why let me go back. He's a conventional Republican politician. The only difference is that where earlier Republicans were so concerned with holding on to the business community that they limited what they did for their voters to symbolism. I'll give you an example. A core constituency of Mr. Trump are fundamentalist Christians. Another one, people who love guns and they like to have guns in their automobile or guns in their home. Another one are people who are dead set against abortion. I could go on. These people wanted a ban on abortion. Traditional Republicans, the two Bush presidents, they said, oh, yes, abortion is terrible. They didn't stop it. They just didn't do it. Yes, they blamed the Democrats for holding. But the bottom line was you had a mass of people for whom the conventional Republicans were, in fact, people who took care of business, but didn't give them more than a passing shot. That he would invite the Christian fundamentalist ministers to the White House for a prayer breakfast. They actually do that. They love that. They sit around, they bow their heads, they go through a kind of Christian prayer to God for guidance and all of that sort of thing. And the people love that, and the Democrats don't do it, or don't do it anywhere near as ostentatiously. But it's never more than symbolism. Mr. Trump, if he deserves anything, deserves credit, if that's the right word. He understood you've got to give those people more. If you don't, you will lose them. And if you give them enough, you'll actually win the presidency because the business will help you as it always does, and now you'll get the votes. And that's what he did. And his problem now is that in the events in Minneapolis, the ICE army went too far, and the population is horrified, and he has to withdraw quickly because if this goes bad, which it looks like it, he's in terrible, terrible trouble. He doesn't have that many cards to play, and he's looking very bad on the Epstein. I mean, the level of lying that he's been caught in is, it's a bit grotesque. And there are too many headlines, and they're coming too fast, and there are too many people, even in the Republican Party, who are seeing a loss in the election coming in November and are already backing away him and now increasingly becoming advocates of looking more deeply into the Epstein. And I do have to tell you, in case folks in Europe are not aware, the stuff is getting uglier, and we're looking at really as horrible as these things ever get. That's what this is now looking like. Far beyond sex with underage girls. That's bad enough. But this goes. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it. You'll find out about it soon enough. But it's weakening him. This is not the theater that his people want. They don't want any of this, and they're getting it every day, all day. And because it's got a lot of sex in it, it has that salaciousness that keeps the headline big and bold. Is it?